Hello YouTube. Okay, so I'm making this video to show everybody how to detect a leak on a system. Okay, so let's say your fridge needed Freon. Somebody came by, they added the Freon on there, but a few days or a month later, no more gas. So most likely you do have a leak on the system. So if your compressor is running correctly, you'll know, because you can hear Freon running through the system. If you don't hear like watery sounds on the inside of your fridge, that's usually the Freon running through. So if you don't hear that, possible you do have a bad compressor. I'll go into more details in a little bit, but I'm going to show you the ones that do have a leak, how to find it, which is the easiest, one of the methods, I guess the best method to find it. So what I use the liquid that's highly transparent, as you can see, like neon color. This is what the UV dye, okay, the R134. And I also use a black light, okay, and I also use these glasses. So what these glasses do is they help you see better where that light is, especially, like, for example, you add a little bit of that liquid into your gauges, right, into the hoses. So you add a little bit, about let's say about a tablespoon or so, right? You add it through here, and then you put some Freon in there, and you just let it run for about 10-15 minutes. Okay, I'll show you in more details right now. I'm just kind of giving you an overview. So let it run about 10-15 minutes, and then you go and use these glasses, because these you can actually see a lot better when you put the black light, because as you can see how it glows. Okay, and if you use this and then you see how only the green glows, nothing else on the sides. So whenever you're actually looking for that leak, so wherever you see that high neon glow, that's where your leak is. Okay, so even when you turn off your lights, you'll see a lot better in the dark. But I already went through the system and already checked everything, and I already did find the leak. Okay, so once again, I'm gonna go in more details now. So yeah, you're gonna add some of that liquid to the cables, to the hoses, and then from there you're gonna add like about 2 shots of Freon, okay, through the system. I have this rag so it doesn't overheat, because it's been running without too much Freon. So after that, you let it run, and then you just use a black light, right, with your glasses on. You go through the lines, you go all the way around, little by little, through the whole system to the back side, and you also do that in the inside until you find where that leakage is. Once again, whenever you see a leak, you're going to see that neon glow somewhere. So I already checked the whole system in the back side. I already checked this side. I already checked the freezer side. Everything is fine. So the leak I found on this one is right on the back, which is, I'll show you in a second, right behind this sponge. Okay, so what I did is, let me take off the sponge and I can show you what it looks like. So okay, that's actually is the other sponge here. I replaced it because it had leaked. And just find which side it was, right there. Okay, sorry guys, I'm trying to record and do this at the same time. So I'm gonna put this glasses on so you can see. Okay, okay, you see how it glows right there, right in the corner? That's what that leak is. You see how I'm aiming the light everywhere else? It only glows right there. So internally, that's where that leak was. Okay, well, that's kind of what it looks like. Let's see, face it up really quick, more closer, right there. Okay, so yeah, so like once again, like I said, this is one of the methods that you could use this liquid. Don't use too much because you don't want to affect your compressor. Just, you know, a couple drops in there. That's gonna go through the system, and that's how you can detect where the leakage is, okay? After that, if it's under the copper, then you get your torches, you re-weld it back together. If it's on aluminum, there is some aluminum torches and stuff, and brass, so you can do the aluminum internally, okay? That's one of the methods. Second method is when you use nitrogen tank. You hook it up to your compressor, make sure there's no Freon in the system. You connect the hoses using a nitrogen tank. Connect it there, give it about 100 psi just to start off. Okay, and your gauges. Okay, give it about 100 psi. So that's about right there. Okay, and you just close them, and you have it connected. And if you see from the 100 psi, if you see that it starts dropping, yes, you do have a leak. Make sure your hoses are nice and tight. Don't over tie them either with pliers. Just nice and tight, maybe just like one after if you did it manually, by hand, I'm sorry. You do it by hand, you tighten it, and then just give it a little with some pliers. That's it, just one little tap. That's it, okay? Make sure you check all of them, and you just let it sit. Give it about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. Sometimes you could do it up to an hour. If you see the pressure drop, you do have a leak. Now with nitrogen, what it does, there's so much, I guess, pressure, as you can say, in the system. So you can get, if you don't have that special liquid, some, you know, soapy water, just like that. Okay, make some bubbles, and let me show you how you get an idea. Okay, so make some bubbles like this, and you just put them all over the place. That's when you don't have the neon liquid. Okay, so you go like this, and if it bubbles up, that's where the leak is. Most of the time that I've done the nitrogen version is you can hear where the leak is coming from. Okay, and the compressor has to be off. Don't have the fridge on, okay, when you're doing the nitrogen version. So compressor off, and then you'll hear the little sound coming out. You check, that's where it's at. You put some bubbles if you know where it's at. Okay, from there you just resolder. Okay, so yeah, you leave it like that, and as like I said, as you're waiting, just kind of go using the soapy water, go all around all the hoses, all of the system, the copper lines, the connectors, basically. Okay, inside and out. Check both sides. If you have a bottom freezer, sometimes they have a single system, sometimes a double system. And yeah, you just go all the way around through the system. Usually, just a tip on both systems, okay? A tip on this one. If you have a fridge that has a double system like this one, a freezer has an evaporator, and also the fridge has an evaporator. Most of the time that I've seen is that the evaporator side on the fridge where the food is, the main food compartment, usually this one is the one that fails, okay? If you have like a French door style, usually the freezer's on the bottom and the fridge on top. Now, if it's a double system just like this one, if there's an evaporator on top and on the bottom, most of the time, this honestly it's been like more than 70% of the time, the top fridge compartment, that's where the evaporator is. Usually that's where I find the leaks, and most of the time is I find them on the edges. Okay, it's rare when I find them through the system and through these lines right here, through these dividers. Most of the time I find them right here, like towards little edges and stuff, or the connectors. Like this one did had a little crack, and already did resolder right here. Okay, so I found that another leak. So this one did have 2 leaks. Okay, now if you see the hoses or the lines are really corroded, then you just want to change the system. Okay, which is the evaporator. So this one is still okay. I did kind of clean it a little bit, and I didn't see the line going too bad, but it is starting to get a little green. Just be careful with that. I'm gonna clear out, still check the system, make sure there's, you know, the line is still can hold, and if it can't, once again, you got to change those lines. Okay, but once going back to the leakage, yeah, so when you have the nitrogen side, the tank connected 100 psi, then you just put bubbles all the way around, okay, through the whole thing, and you'll see it bubble up. Now, but once again, what I use is, going back to that, that's my preference. Just don't use too much because you don't want to affect the compressor. As soon as you find the leak, you patch it, okay? And then after that, you do a full vacuum, so you could try to get as much as that liquid out. It is made for the system to run with that liquid, but whenever you do the vacuum, it's gonna come out. So hopefully that cleans it out. And that's pretty much about it. If you have any questions, go ahead and subscribe, comment, leave some comments, and I will answer anything that you need. Yeah, so that's for the people that, because I've seen many technicians, they don't even bother trying to find a leak on a system, okay? They usually will say, oh, it has a leak, it's bad. No, let me explain when a system, you cannot repair it when there's a leak. Let me explain how and why. So let's happen to say that the system goes up. Now, if there's a leakage internally, then yes, that's when I can say the fridge is bad, because there's no way to get to there, okay? There's no way to get to there unless if you run some lines, you're gonna make some holes through your fridge through here. For example, with the freezer, you see where the lines are, you run some new lines and you just basically poke a hole through the system through here, so you can get some new lines coming out through here, and then you reconnect them there. That's if you wanna kind of bypass and you don't wanna throw away the fridge, then you do that, okay? Most of the time, they do it with a capillary, which is the thinnest line. Well, this one has a little octopus kind of style, okay, because it has two systems. So what it does, it takes about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. It runs on the freezer, Freon, and then it stops, and then that little jellyfish, octopus looking thing. So what that does, it just switches to the freezer. So that does that every 20 minutes or so, okay? So be patient whenever you're checking for leakage, because what it does, it closes one of the sides, one compartment. So if there is a leak on that compartment you're checking, but it's closed, then there's no gas running through the system. So you have to wait about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes for the system to make that change, okay? Just keep that in mind, because if you, let's say you checked everything, but you don't hear the gas running through the system, then you won't find that leak. Because it could be that the system, the Freon is running through the freezer, right? And you already checked everything, and oh, I didn't see no leak. No, you have to wait until you can hear the lines watery. That's when the Freon is running through. You'll start seeing turn white, okay? That's a signal that the Freon is running through the system. So while it's doing that, that's when you want to check for that leak. That's if you have that dye, okay? And the same thing with the nitrogen. So nitrogen, you have to have the compressor off. So what you do is, let's say you're running through, okay, you have it on, and you can hear this part of the system is running the Freon. Then right there and then, that's when you turn it off, and this is the system that's basically on with a little jellyfish thing, okay? That's so that, as you can see, that connector is running through this one, not the freezer, this one. Let's say you checked it and everything was fine here, there's no leakage, no bubbles, then you got to turn on the fridge again. You have to wait until it makes that change to the freezer. Then right there in the freezer, when you hear that bubbly sounds, or the Freon running through the system, then you turn it off right there. Now what it did, the jellyfish closed this side, now it's throwing the Freon through the freezer, okay? Because I've seen where you check pressure and you don't see no pressure drop, but what it did is, once again, it closed one of the sides where that leakage was. It's closed, but when it's fully running with gas, let's say you already fill it up with Freon, then what happened is, when it does the change again to the part where that leak is gonna leak out again, okay? So keep that in mind. Let me repeat that. So once again, because of this jellyfish, those lines will run about 20 to 30 minutes each, okay? One to the freezer, 30 minutes, and then it changes to the fridge. Okay, so you have to do a fully check. You have to wait. You check one side, you wait 30 minutes for it to make that change, and then you check the other side. So you just got to see where that Freon is running, then that's when you check for the leak. Okay, so that's about it. Once again, like the video, leave comments if you have questions. I am gonna try to make some more videos. I did kind of pause for a little bit. I was changing shops, okay, and I did get a little bit behind with work and stuff, but there is a lot of appliances coming out, so I'm gonna be making more content, okay. Once again, you have questions, leave comments. I will answer as much as I can, but this is, once again, this is what I use. You find it on O'Reilly's or AutoZone. All right, thank you guys.